Hi, Blake here again from Florida Orienteering. This is the third video for Livelox, in which I'm going to do a little further drill down, continuation of the second video where I talked about how to look at your track and determine the problem areas and how to look at each leg. Now we're going to go a little bit further with that concept. We talked in that video about how to look at your overall track, like the red areas here for areas where you're going slow or areas where you have a little deviation in your track as potential problem areas. But now the question is, you have all these particular problem areas you can look at. How do you know which ones are really important? How do you know which ones really cost you time and how much? And there's a great secondary tool for that, which is called SplitsBrowser, and that's where you want to make use of this tool. So right now I've got my overall track here. I know there's some problems in it, but I want to know where the really serious problems are so I can spend my limited time for training looking at those areas. In order to do that, I'm going to go back to Florida Orienteering website. This is our results page that we've been on. If I go to the Kelly Park event and go to the SplitsBrowser tool here, it brings up another display, and there's nothing on it yet, but there's a lot of information you can get from this. The first thing you do when you come to this page is pick what class you want to look at, and it's just right up here. Now, class is like a breakdown of course. It's typically a 3-letter code. You can see the choices here for this event. The first letter is C for civilian or J for JROTC. The second letter is the first letter of your course. So if you did orange, it would be O. If you did yellow, it would be Y. And then the third letter is M, F, or T for male, female, or team participant. So this is how we separate out results to assign medals and tournament placement and so forth. In the example I've been looking at, I was looking at the civilian blue male, the SCBM class right here, and you can see there's my entry, along with the other 3 who also ran that same course. When you start clicking on these, you select them, and you can see some tracks appear over here. And in particular, I want to see everybody, so I'm going to click on the All button and have it show me everyone who ran the blue course in that class. And then you get this display. So what's in here? Well, what you're looking at here, down this axis here, as you run down the vertical, that is minutes of time lost relative to the fastest time recorded on each leg. Alright, so it's time lost. Going from left to right, these are the legs. So you see S for start, 1 for control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 12, F for finish. So this is your progress through the course. You'll notice that they're not all equal in width. Some of these are relatively narrow, and some of them are a little bit wider. That has to do with what the average time was on that leg for the people who ran that course. So the longer legs, the ones that take more of people's time and therefore matter more to a certain extent in your overall time score, those are going to be wider. And the short legs, like this one from 12 to finish was a real short leg, it's very narrow. And then what you're looking at here is for each person there's a line, right? And you can highlight it by mousing over it, as you see here, that corresponds to time lost on each leg relative to the fastest time on that leg. So basically what you're looking for here is drop-offs. If you're the person who did a particular leg fastest, like this guy Jim up here, he did a great job on this course. On a leg like this, where his track is horizontal, that means he lost no time relative to the fastest performance on that leg, because he was the fastest. And then everyone else who didn't go as fast as he did lost a certain amount of time, and you can see how much by how much the track drops from one side of that leg to the other. So what you're looking at here is basically a graphical representation that quantifies for you how much time you lost relative to your competitors on each leg, and you can see from that clearly where the problem legs are and how big the problems are. My track here is the green track. That's the one we've been studying, and I was comparing myself to Hin's track. He was the one who came in right before me and the only other person who recorded a GPS log on that track, on that course. And you can see here I was actually ahead of him up until this leg, up until the leg from control 6 to 7 right here. And right there I went way down. He passed me on that leg, virtually speaking. We were running the course at different times, but that's where his total time passed mine. And that was the one we were looking at in the last video. If I go back to my display and drill down into the legs and go to legs 6 to 7, this is the one we were studying before where I had that deviation. This is where he passed me. And now if I go over here and click on his track, it'll show me his track in comparison to mine, and you can see why he passed me. He didn't deviate right there. If I go back and play this back, you can actually see it. Whoops. You can actually see it exactly where he went past me. I was right with him, and then I deviated and he didn't. Right there. And that was where I lost time relative to him on that leg. Right? And there I finished. So I lost a couple of minutes relative to him there, and that was why. If I go back to SplitsBrowser again and continue on, so that one we already studied. Now this next leg I did great. I was actually the fastest time from 7 to 8. I gained some of my time back there. But then here again, from 8 to 9, that one really ate my lunch. You can see I got a really big drop there. And lost even more time relative to other people on that course. So I want to go back and take a look at that leg, the leg from 8 to 9. I go look at that leg here. And if I jump to the end, it's going to show me again, since I have both of these selected, it's showing me my track as well as his. I can look at any individual one by just checking and unchecking over here. This is the one where I had another big deviation. And you can see what happened here. We had different approaches to this particular control. We were the same up to here. We had ran over to this trail and came up to this junction, but then to get from there to the control, he took the safe route of going up the trails where he could run, and I tried to go straight through, doing a compass bearing through there, and you can see how that worked out. It didn't work out in my favor because, number one, I started to deviate to the right of my track right here. That's a common problem for me. When I'm doing a compass walk, I tend to pull to the right. And then up here, I had kind of lost track of where I was. You can see me moving slower and slower here as my track gets redder and redder. And then out of the corner of my eye, I happened to see a control, and I ran over to it, not realizing it was number 5, the one that I had already picked up. Once I got there and saw that, I jumped out to the trail and finished it. But you can see that my idea of running straight across was not a terrific idea. It didn't work out well for me. And you can kind of see why. I'm going to show you another little trick here. To give an idea of how long that leg is, if you put your mouse down, hold the Shift key down, and then click and drag, you can measure a little piece of the course. When you do that, a window pops up, and you can see that leg is 650 meters from here to here. From that intersection to the control, there's a 650 meter leg. And we both pass through those areas. You can, if you mouse over the individual tracks, you can see it shows you which one is which. And we both ran approximately the same distance, but he ran much faster. His pace was 7:42 per kilometer, and I was almost 12 minutes per kilometer paced on that portion of the track, and that's why he got there first. That method of going straight through turned out not to be a great idea here, and I should have used different tactics to approach that. Either I should have done what he did, or I should have used perhaps this open area up here as a catching feature, and instead of trying to do a precision compass walk here, just done some course compass and run as fast as I could up to here until I got to this open area, and then followed it past the marsh to the control. Probably would have been a better approach. But this is how you use SplitsBrowser. You pick out your class, show either all of the participants in that class or the ones you're really most concerned about, and then look for these big drops in your track where other people did that leg way better than you, and then go to Livelox, drill down on that leg, and pull in tracks to compare to yours of people who did do it better, so you can see exactly what they did that worked well and what you did that did not, and then use that to inform your training going forward.